Hi, my name is Cynthia England. I have developed the picture piecing technique in 1993. As with any technique, over time it evolves, and I found faster ways to do things. One of those is I like to pre-sew fabric strips together now. Before, I would cut every single piece out separately. This pre-sewing saves lots of time, and that's what I'm going to show you today. I started handing out this pre-sew information to my students in class, and they really liked it, and it helped them a lot. So my problem was I had thousands of patterns out there that did not have this information, and I wanted to figure out a way to get it to the people that had already purchased the patterns. So if you go to my website and you pull up a pattern and you scroll to the end of it, there's a little link there and it says helpful info, and you print that out and it gives you this information on which fabric strips to sew, and it makes it much faster. This is one of our helpful info sheets, and this particular one is for the Santa Pooch pattern. This information is free on our website, and it's on, if you go to a pattern and you scroll to the bottom, it is a link, it's a PDF that you can print off. And what this does is tell you which fabrics that you can pre-sew to make it faster. In this box there are some bars, and these bars represent fabric strips, and the letters on the bars indicate the colors that you made on your fabric selection chart. So this P1 is here and the Z is here. Now if the color is repeated, like there's a Z here and also here, that means you're going to use it twice. So you would cut your fabric in half so you've got two pieces of it. Now the fabrics these bars are all the same size, but when you're actually working with it, you're going to have some fabrics that are wider, and that's absolutely fine. This is just showing you which colors you want to sew together. The space between the fabrics, between these bars, means that there's 3 different sets that you are to sew together. This photo at the top is showing you why we're actually sewing these strips together first. What you're going to do is cut this this is freezer paper. We're going to cut it as one piece and then just iron the line right over the sewn seams. That way you don't have to cut 2 out. It's already prepped for you and ready to go. So this first set here is P1, Z, and P2. You're going to know that because your color chart has them listed, and that's how you know which color. And what I'm going to do is take 2 fabrics and put them right sides together, and I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch all the way down the length. And then I'm going to add another one on the other side. Same thing, just 1/4 of an inch. They do not have to be even across the bottom because we're going to be really just working with this seamed line here. So now after you sew them together, you want to iron them, and I recommend ironing them open on these pre-sewn strips. Some of the fabrics you're going to have much larger pieces of than others. This is the background for this pattern, so it's a much larger piece. See how it's just sewn to the end of whatever the strip is? When you have these really large pieces, what I do is I cut it to where it's like only a 22-inch length. I want the long part, but then I cut it across the width, so I have 2 pieces. After you cut it apart, just set that other piece aside, because if you have a background, you can use those large pieces for that piece that you set aside. Okay, I have my strips sewn together. This is the first set, and now I want to iron the seams open. I only ironed them open on these main strips at the very beginning, and then later on, as I'm joining large sections, I will iron open. Otherwise, I just iron it wherever it wants to go. I want to show you a nifty tool that works really well for this. This is called a strip stick, and what it is designed to do is it's designed for strata, like when you sew little bitty seams, strips next to each other. The problem with ironing something like that is when your iron is hitting, it's hitting more than what you want it to hit. And what this is designed to do is lift it up so you're only ironing the one seam. And that's really helpful. And I love that. But my favorite thing about this stick is that it flattens the seam out perfectly. You don't have to make 2 passes, you just have to make 1. This is a curve on this stick, and when I run this hot iron and have no steam, and when I run it down this seam, it's pushing on a curve, and it flattens the seam out perfectly. I mean, there's no fold, there's no ridge, there's nothing. When you iron both sides, it stretches and your line starts going like this. But if you're only making 1 pass, it won't do that. So this is ironing open, and now I'm going to show you how to iron to one side, which is what we do more in traditional quilting. And what you do is you just put the iron here and run your fingers in front of it, and then just push it along, and then it flattens out the seam really well. It does not leave any fold. So now I'm going to take these and flatten them out. Now I do iron between every seam. I don't wait and iron at the end. You just want it flat. Let's see how nicely that folds, and it just flattens it out perfectly. This strip stick is really handy, and I use it. I do traditional quilts and picture piecing quilts too, and it works for both things. It's just very good. It's kind of like a ham, but for quilters. We have these on the website. This is the medium size. There's also a small size too. For picture piecing, you don't want an iron that has holes in it. If you have one that doesn't, works a lot better. If you have holes in your iron, what happens is when you press it, it doesn't heat where those holes are, and we're pressing freezer paper down, so that's important that it connects. Also, you want a hard ironing surface. So now I want to show you how that chart is helpful. The patterns come with one printed on regular paper and one printed on freezer paper. What I like to do, this is the regular bond paper one, is I like to block it off so I'm only looking at what I'm working on. And this seems like a simple little thing, but it really helps you focus on what you're doing. You can use Post-it notes, you can use blank paper, but that's what you're going for. Just look at that much. Okay, we now have the master pattern blocked off, so we're only looking at section B. Now if you look in this yellow box, it says section B, and it says 1/2. Well, what it's referring to is this circled number 1 and this circled number 2. These 2 pattern pieces you can keep together and treat them as one piece, like this. And I will cut and show you what I'm talking about here. So this is the freezer paper pattern. This is section B. The dotted line, you have to cut the dotted line. They're like another group. But this is telling me I can leave 1 and 2 together. I could also leave 2 and 3 actually. So if I cut this now, here's 1 and 2, and I go to my strips that I've pre-sewn, which is P, 2, and Z, I can iron this on the line and then cut around it, eliminating a whole step. So here they are ironed on. And you want to leave 1/4 of an inch around each pattern piece. So when these are cut out, you're going to have to cut away, leave your seam allowance when you go to cut it. Okay, now in section B it says 4, 5, 6. Okay, well that's 3 numbers. So I want to show you how to do 3. Now this is a little technique that I use for very small pieces. And what I would do here is find the 2 that are next to each other and then iron them onto those fabrics. Can you see how out of these 3 pieces that these 2, number 4 and number 5, share one common seam? Nothing is in between those 2 pieces. So what we're going to do is we're going to use those and iron those on our prepped fabric. So this is Z and this is B1. So you would iron it just like that. Don't worry about this 3rd piece. I'm going to show you how we're going to handle that. So this is what I've got. I've got these 3 pieces. I have ironed them on these 2 pieces. These are the ones that share the common seam, 4 and 5. And the 3rd one's just kind of hanging out there. What I'm going to do to get that 3rd one, rather than cut it off, is I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to fold it towards me and crease it on that line. Here it is again, just fold it towards you. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut away about 1/4 of an inch, a generous 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Now I'm going to take a scrap of fabric, this is the right color, and I'm going to butt it up against the top there, and then I'm going to take a pin and I'm going to pin it. And you can feel where the paper is, and it comes back up, and then I'm going to pinch fold it like that, and then just sew a little away from this fold. So now I'm going to sew using a normal stitch length. You don't shorten the stitch, and I'm going to sew a little away from that little fold that you see. If you can't see where to sew, just sew a wimpy 1/4 of an inch. And just sew to the end. Now when I open this, I need the freezer paper to line up. So let's see what we have. Okay, now do you see how I'm off a little bit there? Well, all you do is you pick this up and you move it over and you re-iron it, and that corrects it. So you iron that flat and then trim around, and you have your 3 pieces, and you didn't have to cut that one off. So if you see 3 pattern pieces listed like 4/5/6, that's because I chose to do it that way. You can also just cut this number 6 off and work with it separately, but this is how you do 3. I hope this short video has been helpful to you in understanding how this pre-sewing of strips works. My new patterns, as I create them, will have this information already included in the pattern. But if you already have one of my patterns and it's not there, you can still get it for free.